Welcome to Secular Sessions, the ultimate destination for authentic conversations and stimulating debates. I'm your host, Raj. My mission is simple: to promote critical thinking and ignite meaningful conversations that inspire curiosity and open-mindedness. Join me on this incredible journey as we navigate through the topics such as science, philosophy, ethics, and the wonders of the natural world. Welcome to Secular Sessions, where critical thinking finds its home. Hi friends, today I wanted to talk about why is it hard for people to leave religion. I'm joined by Sandriyat and Anish. You must have listened to them from my previous videos and hope you guys liked what they had to say. I liked it as well. That's why I've joined them again. Hi Anish, hi Sandriyat, how are you guys doing?
Doing great, man. What about you?
Still alive?
Doing fine as well.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So last time we spoke, we had some brilliant ideas. Anish got me into reading books, and that's why I'm reading Bhagavad Gita, although it's not a good choice for the first book that you read.
I apologize for that.
Yeah.
Wait, I have to show you something. Ta-da. Okay, I have to unblur it first. Wait. Ta-da.
Oh no.
It's
Why?
bought directly from ISKCON.
Oh well. So we're gonna
I hope you don't feel mentally scarred after that.
I haven't started reading yet. I have a few other half-done readings to complete, after which I will properly start reading it. But it has been on my read list for a long time, and I happened to visit ISKCON because my parents wanted to visit and I had to tag along. So I made one good use of it, that is getting the Gita as I was going to get it anyway.
Yeah, so we're gonna talk to Sandriyat as an atheist today. Don't know in future he'll be Hare Krishna. So we gotta get him when his brain is functional. And go from there. But yeah, Anish, why do you find, or have you talked to people that are really don't want to change their mind about religion?
Yeah, because like we talked even last time about this, and I think my answer would remain the same as what we talked last time. It is identity. I still like the entire answer of religion is identity. As long as it's your identity, you will never be able to leave it.
Cool.
If it's not your identity, you can easily, you can digest it. Which is why people who are a lot more scientific minded, who are scientific minded in the sense that they are much more for discovery rather than just studying science, they're much more into discovery stuff. They're much more willing to accept mistakes, changes.
Yeah.
Which way they're willing to change the beliefs itself.
Yeah, that's a good point. But I'm thinking, like, I know a lot of people who are scientific tempered and stuff, but they just don't think about this sort of thing, even though, in their work, they really want to have the results. They experiment a lot. But when the result come out, that, they are very critical in their work. When it comes down
because
to
that is
religion,
their identity. Like they don't differentiate that part of themselves from this part. This is an identity, like they're scientifically minded. This is an identity, and religion in and of itself is an identity. It's a different side of them. One side of them, like people have side of them, a side of them that's happy, a side of them that's sad, a side of them that's pissed off. You don't see all those sides interacting at the same time a lot of time. So some people are very good at compartmentalizing, both these sides, finding a way to find a barrier to not interact with these two sides at the same time.
That's a good point. What do you think, Sandriyat?
Actually, I'm completely agreeing with Anish here. It's really just about identity. What happens is religion becomes a part of someone's identity before, at an age where they don't exactly understand stuff. And they grow with it, and that becomes part of who they are. They cannot separate themselves and their family and the religion that they associate with it. So even if people, and as you said, that I too know people who are scientific, like they at least hold scientific degrees and stuff and are still religious. And for example, you'll even find some scientists who are much better than us when it comes to science. Like I cannot compete with the person who is heading ISRO now. Like he has much more scientific knowledge than me, but he believes in astrology and dumb shit like that. So it's because he grew up with this. He kind of made it part of who himself is. And another example of this would be, you'll find that when people argue about climate change, climate change for some very dumb reason is political, which has absolute no sense. There is scientific proof for it. There is all evidence you can look for. But people will argue against it because not believing in climate change, that is kind of part of their identity. Yeah, it's dumb, but that's how they think. And similarly here, like religion being right or wrong doesn't matter to people who becomes part of the religious identity. Like, I think all three of us are ex-Hindus. So even, for example, my parents, per se, especially my mother, is not orthodox. Like, she can hold discussions that is outside of what ingrained mentality would be. And she understands stuff. I do talk to her about it when the topics comes. I don't exactly force onto it. But at the end, she doesn't leave her Hindu identity. Like, she is slowly taking up more pujas than she used to like a decade ago and stuff like that, which I watch and am pretty disappointed. But it is interesting because she is not exactly someone who rejects science. She is teaching biology in junior high school. So she is scientific. She's not an average orthodox person, but she's still religious. She does a lot of puja and makes me visit temples and stuff like. For example, she kind of made me visit ISKCON. So,
and buy books.
No, that was completely my decision. She didn't exactly. Luckily, see, ISKCON is a funny case. In case of ISKCON, them being a scam and them being just a business is so out in the open that even my parents could say it. Like, they are religious, but they didn't exactly feel that kind of religious connection visiting there. They could say it. But at the same time, that didn't make them drop the religious bullshit. So that's where identity comes in. They grew up with it.
That's quite interesting. What are your thoughts on ISKCON? Anish, have you visited that temple at all, or like just from the offset? What do you think about those guys?
I've never visited ISKCON. I'm never interested in it because I remember one time going to the Sai Mandir. And I remember going there and we were in the line for like 6 hours, mate. 6 fucking hours. And I just went, nope, never going to any of these places again.
Seriously?
6 hours.
How?
We were there at around 1:30 p.m. The line started. And the line is all around the mandir.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
And you know how long do they let you be at the top where the actual Sai Baba's, where the puja is actually happening.
How long they let you?
We stood there for like 15 to 20 seconds at most.
15, 20
seconds.
That's not surprising at all, but that's not surprising at all, to be honest. I was just surprised that you had to wait 6 hours. That was not something I expected.
Because it's not a small mandir. It's a pretty big, it's the biggest mandir, Sai Baba mandir.
So,
and
you were waiting for visiting that prime spot, not exactly entering the premise.
Yeah, no. Entering premises is not that long.
Okay.
Entering premises will not take you that long. But for you to do that entire trip, it's like 6 hours just to see one statue. Are you kidding me? The planetarium offers more, mate. You can go to a goddamn museum and you can.
This is why I don't visit the Puri temple. You know, the Puri Jagannath temple is pretty popular, and it has a bit of attraction for me because it's very old and it has that architectural attraction, which I like. But I don't want to visit it because since people visit that to visit that particular statue, so there's a lot of line, a lot of waiting, a lot of crowd, and very little time of actually interacting with it. So I'm not visiting that.
No, that
although I kind of like to visit very old temples, but
Mhm.
not this kind of very old temples. I don't think the Sai Baba is old either. For example, ISKCON doesn't even have architectural attraction. It's just
Yeah,
a
the
modern
thing is that
structure
that
that's made
left
for
such a
business.
bad impression in my head. That event has left such bad. I don't want to go to a temple. Like I literally like hate going because I don't want to stand in a line for 6 hours.
Mm.
Yeah, me
And
neither.
Good
that
to
too,
burn
like
calories, though.
you're standing there and sitting at some place. You're just finding some spot to sit in
Okay,
in
that
such a way
just
that you are within the line and you're sitting. Like that's what we were looking for. Like that became a game after some time. Where can we find a spot to sit such a way that the line doesn't? We do not get out of the line.
yeah. To the religious people, make us go to the temple. We want to, but we can't because you make us stand for 6 hours. That's not fair.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
not doing that either. I'm not doing even if my parents make me do that. No, no, no.
no, I have visited a temple called Vaishno Devi. It's in
It's popular as
J&K.
well.
Yeah, it's really popular. So you start the trek overnight. So it's like a 13K trekking. And in the movie Swarg, I think when Rajesh Khanna's son is dying, he takes him to Vaishno Devi. Very old movie of Rajesh Khanna. And
The name, I'm just curious now.
the Swarg, I think it's called Swarg.
Achha.
The movie name is called Swarg. But or Avatar, maybe. Anyways, that's not a main thing. But anyways, you go and you trek for like we started at 10:30 in the night and we reached at the top of the mountain in about 6 hours. And when you are actual there, they they just let you exactly like how Anish was saying, not even for like 5-10 seconds. You basically just go there, you bow down to this stone, and it's like 3 black stones there, and they don't even let you take a picture or anything. You just come in, and then the priest just was shoving us through the door. It's like, just get over it, because there's like so many people. At one point where we were standing, like you don't need to stand on your own weight. You are smushed between people, so many people that it's not even funny. Hilariously though, in the temple, there's like women and men and children and all that, and everybody squishing together. It's fine. It's the temple. If you do it in a local train, you've been thrown out, or So there is a lot of hypocrisy there. And my cousin brother's wallet got stolen. So apparently you can steal shit after, just under the nose of God. So that's the one thing I realized. And that was my first and the only time. And I'm like, there's very good treks all over India. I'd rather go
How's the
there.
track though? I think attraction of those places is the track itself, like the trekking and the wait.
It used to, when I was there, it's mostly commercialized. So you can actually take like horses to go up there. You can actually have a helicopter that can drop you directly there.
I found it. Yes.
Yes. So it's more commercialized now, I think, back in the day. Oh, you changed.
Yeah. I figured it out. What happened is I wasn't signed in. So Zoom allows you to attend join anywhere without even signing in. So I did that. I thought it was signed in because I signed into the app, but it wasn't. That's why I wasn't getting the option.
Okay.
Yes. Now
good. Now you can sleep.
Wait, all you need to do is sign in. And how do you sign in from web?
You do need to install an application.
Yeah, you can sign in from web as well. If you are in the meeting, you will get an option to sign in somewhere floating on the screen, like on the top right corner, somewhere around that. And
I think I think Raj is going to kill us for not talking on the topic right now.
That's all. I don't know where you guys live, so I can't do that.
Oh, he can curse us.
Yep, it has never worked for me. I have cursed many people in the past, and it has never worked. I don't know how these babas do the cursing and all that. They're like, I'm gonna give you a shrap, and I'm like, go for it, bro. Like,
That
let's
is
see
so
what,
funny.
yeah, like that's gonna help. And coming back to the religion, and so identity is one thing, and the other thing that I've noticed a lot with people changing is they're just so afraid of changing, right? And some people genuinely are afraid that if they've lost a loved one, then they don't want to change because they are expecting to meet that loved one. They just don't want to go to hell, and then there is such a bad concept of hell. I believe heaven is far worse, but because, you know, there is a concept of hell which really demeans people.
Yeah,
So
it does. But technically, all dogs go to heaven, so that is a good attraction.
yeah, but all dogs gets fixed as well. So,
Yeah,
Well, I'm a
that's
cat
true.
man too.
Yeah,
yeah.
I do have a cat who is in shelter at the moment. I don't mind actually. I'm up for any animal. I'm just, as long as it's a mammal and it's not a human, I'm mostly fine.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah. Fear does play a big role as well.
Mhm.
The fear of hell, heaven, and the afterlife thing, the fear of the unknown does play in it. And religion kind of gives a consolation on that. It doesn't give you answers, it just pretends to give you answers. But that pretense kind of gives you a consolation that that might be the case. It's not unknown anymore if you believe that whatever it is to be the answer. But a part of it also comes back to the identity because where the change comes in, like people find it hard to change because what they're accustomed to is what they identify as. So that's identity coming back into the picture.
Mhm.
And fear does play a role. There are two fears that play a role here. One is the fear of the unknown. Everyone is afraid of death because no one knows what's going to happen after they die. No one knows.
Mhm.
Afterlife is just a concept. And hell, even once again, is just a concept. You just pretending you to give you an answer. And if you believe in an answer, it's not an unknown anymore. And the other fear is if you leave something that you have been surrounded, you have the fear of being outcasted by the society. Not everyone is comfortable with that. Like most people are not comfortable at being the outcast. Most people like to have a community they belong to. That is the human nature. So that's something that religion gives you. It gives you a community. That's kind of is the only good thing that religion does. The community might be a shit, but it gives you a community. It does that.
Yeah, sense of belonging is very important,
Yeah,
I suppose,
true.
for people, like where
Yes.
we can belong. Anish has a group, I think, where you go and talk to people about books.
It's more online. I don't go and talk to people. It's just online. I talk to people online.
Oh, cool.
Oh, that's cool. I kind of have a book.
Yes.
Like, I just prefer reading books on my own and looking up online what new books are there. And I have a friend who's a real book nerd like me.
Mhm.
Me and him, we get into a fight on books.
Why? Like, what book is better than what?
No, it's like which book to spend our money on. Like we,
Oh, acha.
precisely pick. We have pretty strict spending habits. So we are like, okay, now we have 6 books we want to buy. Which
Okay.
one should we buy?
Okay, so you
Okay.
contribute, like, money goes in a pool and then you buy those books.
No. He buy his own book. I'll buy my own book. But we fight over which book is better to buy. Because
Okay,
generally we both buy the same book.
Yeah,
He lives in a
It's
different state.
like it's fun
I
if
see.
you have. It's kind of fun to read the same book together. It becomes a good conversational topic.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So
you can
that
talk a lot more
happens.
on that
Yeah,
book.
yeah. Like yes, you can discuss the book, what you're reading, where you are at,
Like
what you like and
I
dislike.
bought
It's
Choke
just a
Point
way with.
Capitalism.
Oh,
I
good,
bought
good.
Choke Point Capitalism, the book I shared with Raj, Choke Point Capitalism, and I won the bet. So this was the book we bought.
How does bait come in here?
We make random bets on random topics that we're discussing, and the bets are something that you can actually prove to be true or false. It's not something opinionated.
No, that's good.
And the bets are generally conversational, something that has emerged in conversation.
Okay.
One of the bets I remember that I won. Yes, there's a bet we made recently, and we had to buy the book. Dostoevsky's The Idiot. Because of that, I won the book. I won the bet that I had downloaded. That he had forced me to download Bumble, and I said, "But I'll wait for 2 months. I'll do whatever you say in that, and yet there will be not a single right swipe from a girl." I won the bet.
It kind of depends on where you live. It will be easier if you are living in a tier 1 city. It will be much more difficult if you are not.
I'm living in Bangalore. Make of it what you will.
Okay. 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 Okay.
So,
That's
Anish,
disappointing.
what's your thoughts about the fear? Do you think that comes into play when people don't?
Obviously, that comes into play. Like, it comes into play. A lot of people rationalize fear through some, some different methodologies that you and I may not use.
Mhm.
I prefer, like, for me, I have a fear of dogs. I have an irrational fear of dogs. I'm not afraid of dogs. I have a jump scare fear of dogs. I instantly jump off if a dog comes near me.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
You can see me visibly jump off.
Mhm.
Even I know that the animal is not going to do anything, and yet my mind goes, run away.
I see.
That's a jump scare reaction. And for me, no matter what I do, I will always have that fear. And when you extrapolate such a fear into death, something that's never ending,
Mhm.
this is something I can recover from, but something that I cannot recover from. That's sort of a trauma. It's
Mm.
as good as a trauma. So how do you deal with such a trauma for certain people? For me, I have rationalized it in a very simple way. If I'm dead, I'm dead. It's over. Like, it's over. I'm dead.
Yeah.
For me, the game over screen happens once and it's done.
Yeah. You don't respawn.
Yeah. There's no respawning. There's no like next stage. There's no down stage. There's no up stage. There's no levels. Nothing. Game over. Game over. Done.
Should have created some save points.
Yeah.
No. Yep. That's interesting that you say that, because that is the fear that we see a lot. People do want to respawn or reincarnate into a new life. So they don't want to mess up with the God. And like, what if, we mess up with the God and then he'll just, send us to hell, or we won't be able to respawn into a better life. I have noticed that a lot of people, or a lot of priests or people who read hands, come and say, or in the past life you were king or queen, or you were a princess or whatever. I never really understood why is everyone in the past life so rich and stuff, and now they're just like really shitty. Yes.
I don't understand this whole. I just don't understand this whole karma nonsense and the past life nonsense. To me, I just Christopher Hitchens said it the best.
Mm-hmm.
Christopher Hitchens said it the best. If I die and if I have something like a soul and a God exists, I just have one request to the God: kill my fucking soul, end it. No heaven, no hell. Both of them are damnation in an eternal form. No questions asked. Just end it. Like, I am dead and no soul, nothing needed. No, bro, just end it. Khatam karo. Business is over. The transaction is completed. I am done.
Don't want to go through all that trouble one more time.
Yes. Yeah, I don't want to get into a game.
Yeah, but this reincarnation and this afterlife, sorry, not afterlife, and rebirth concept is more of an Eastern philosophy. I mean, the Western religions, by Western religions, we're mostly talking about the Abrahamic religions. They don't have this reincarnation thing. It's mostly Hinduism, Jainism, Buddhism, which are connected to each other. And even the other Eastern religions like Shintoism and few other that are not that relevant today, but were being back into space.
Yeah, I think the concept of moksha comes into Hinduism, right? You keep collecting karma as if you're on Reddit. And then after you are collected enough karma, then you can have moksha. I believe moksha is like you go to...
No, moksha is like heaven. I mean, you have done enough good deed that you don't have to go through life one more time. You can be happy forever now. Eternal peace, the similar to heaven. And if you have done enough good things but not enough to achieve moksha, then you have a second go at life with a better life than whatever you had in your past life. And if you have done bad things, or if you have done too many bad things, then you are damned to hell. But if you have done a good balance but not a positive balance, so you are in the negative side, then you are going through life again, but at some form that is worse than whatever you just completed. So maybe you are a human now, you did enough. Maybe you are a lower caste human now, you did enough good deed but not enough to moksha. Then you are born again as a human with a higher caste maybe, or you did not do enough good deeds and not that bad to go to hell. You will be revered as maybe a donkey or something like that. It's still dumb, but that's the concept.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if Modi is gonna go somewhere moksha, or you don't have to answer that. That's just under the table.
Yeah. No, he can find
cares,
can find some mitros in the hell.
Yeah, I wanna go. Yeah, I mean, I wanna go.
बचपन में नरक में चाय बेचता था.
Well, if that is the case, at least the chai will always be hot, right? You don't have to reheat it. So that's one advantage of being in that. The business is all hot. So
मित्रों, तेल का खर्चा बचा या नहीं बचा?
No, let's not make it political. I'm currently on a dating scene. Like, I wanna find a girlfriend, and it's really hard. And if you want, well, when I say find a girlfriend, someone potentially to marry and all that. And what happens now is you go on the matrimonial sites, they are littered with they almost like a filter. So first you start, I'm a man, right? Second, which religion are you in? And then the third, I'm generally looking under Hinduism. And then the third is which caste you're in. And then within that caste, which other filter applies and stuff. And then it comes down to which sort of girl you're looking for. 2 arms and 2 legs and some of the other girl parts. So that's what I also find is some people do want to marry in their own community because they say
that is most people, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't really
that is the majority.
Yeah, I don't really understand why there is that concept, because I mean, culturally, every Indian or most Indians are similar. When I say culturally, within the state, I'm sure if you go to a different state, there's slightly, difference in people, their opinion, their habits and stuff. But when you are in a same religion or same caste or whoever, the made up concepts, and then you find someone in a different state, they're not going to be culturally similar to you. They're going to have different set of beliefs and stuff, but still people want to stay in the same religion or same caste. I never really understood that concept. Any take on that, Zendrit?
Yeah, actually there is, because the thing that happens is that even if you are in the same religion, the set of beliefs and practices are different even within the same religion.
Yeah.
Not the beliefs, I'll say. The practices, yes, but the beliefs are pretty much...
Even in beliefs, because let me tell you this, as a Marwadi, someone who's been doing business, I've been in business with my dad for as long as I can remember. But so whenever I go and meet other Marwadis within the business circle itself, I see a really different structure of belief within itself and different set of practices itself within the Marwadi culture. And it has not only that, the religious adherence is different. So much so that the place where they are actually also matters.
Okay. What were you going to say, Zen?
Because
Place does matter. By place, do you mean within a state or in a different state? Because being in a different
a
state
geographical
contributes.
location, depending on what geographical location they are. Because a lot of people, let's say, if you are more into north side, north, east side, north, there you see temperatures are far lower. So people are, more likely to appreciate events that, have fireworks and that are more summer catered than winter catered.
I see.
And you see a lot more emphasis on beliefs on activities that are a lot more summer focused.
Mm. So you're saying like if I'm living in say Himachal or the mountainous areas, then I'm most likely to enjoy a hot cup of tea more frequently than someone say living in the mid like Jharkhand or southern India.
Sort of, but not completely. Like not every person falls into the category, but there is like significance to that, and it's like very like specific religiosity that is connected here.
Do you want to explain more? I don't know if I'll get it.
Like for example, even in like the belief of Vastu, coming to Bangalore, I have seen Vastu beliefs that are so ridiculously different than what my father believes.
Okay. Interesting.
So, something tangible like that is different between two people. And when I say tangible, it means you can literally see the impact. Like you can literally see two people telling how something is to be structured, that something physical is to be structured.
I see. Just because they're from a different area growing up.
Yeah, because here the group of Marwadis that have understood this structure have some form of architectural structure they've seen here and grown accustomed to.
I see.
So now what has happened is that, and maybe the architectural structure that goes in West Bengal is different from the architectural structure that goes in Bangalore, and in such a way that when the problems that the architectural structure deals in West Bengal is different from the structures that are supposed to deal in Bangalore. So automatically you can clearly see a difference within the set of beliefs in and of itself.
I see.
Why certain things are required to be in certain places in Bangalore is different than from in West Bengal within the Vastu belief itself. It's not consistent.
I see. What's your take on that, Sanjit?
Yeah, that is completely true. And since you brought architecture here, even if you leave the mind, like the relatively speaking, minuscule differences in regular architecture, you just look at how different temples in different parts of India look. Even all of them are Hindu. Like they look way different than each other. And actually, religious people have this misconception that culture comes from religion. It's not true. It's the vice versa. Religion takes from culture. Like cultures exist, religion dictates some parts of it, taking from it, and then dictating like which is the right culture. But religion doesn't invent that culture. The culture exists.
That is somewhat true.
Obviously, the culture exists because it is always the culture that has given rise to a sort of religious belief, which is why you see a lot of Hindus that recently are anti-gay marriage. Why? Because not within the culture.
Yeah.
And it's not within the culture because 2,000-3,000 years ago, it was not within the culture because homosexuality was not appreciated 2,000-3,000 years ago. Why? Because at that point of time, we were desperate for heterosexual relationships. And it was obvious that we were desperate for it because people were dying at a young age. Women were surviving long. Men were surviving much more than women.
Yeah.
Why? Because women were dying at childbirth. And the more women that died in childbirth were less children there are. So roles got fixed accordingly. Now what happened is religion took over and it made those roles religious.
And
like a woman is supposed to do this.
Yeah. And like Hinduism is not even exactly anti-LGBTQ. Like it doesn't have any strict rules against it. You might be able to find something like that, but it's not a core part of Hinduism, which is fun.
Well, as far as I know, again, I don't know every single aspect of Hindu religion, but as far as I know, in the recent gay marriage court case, the law, one of the lawyers quoted that in Hindu Marriage Law Act, homosexuality is not allowed because it's against Hinduism and Hindu practices. That's the line he said. I'm paraphrasing the line, but the line had that implication.
Yeah, that is what they all like all the people against, like all the Hindus who are against LGBTQ rights say, but they won't be able to point out some rule dictated in any of the scriptures. I mean, it's kind of bold to assume they have read anything, but even they won't be able to point out to some words of forward either, because surprisingly, Hinduism is not that anti it. Like,
No, I
if you
think
compare to Abrahamic religions, you will find very easy to find quotes that punishes stuff like that. But you won't be able to do that with Hinduism. There might be some, but nothing major.
I think the thing is that Hinduism was really good at the group identity. Like Hinduism is really good at group identity. So anybody who was not in the group already was kicked out.
Yeah, that is something all of them are good at.
No, but in the sense that Abrahamic religion still like promoted individualism.
How?
The entire you as a person should not do this. You as a person should not. It's far more prevalent in Abrahamic religion than in Hindu religion. In Hindu religion, we all get together to do this havan. We all do this puja. Like multiple people have to be here. It's a ceremony.
No, that is also the case with them as well. There are mosques, there are churches, there are Sunday masses, then there are Friday gatherings.
What I'm trying to say, the point I'm trying to make is not that. The point I'm trying to make is that in Hinduism, the entire religion is a lot more focused on group identity than individual identity. And Abrahamic religion have a lot more focus on individual identity, because what an individual did matters a lot. In like Hindu stories, even though the main characters are the top three gods, every single trickle-down effect is showcased to show that everything is affected. Whereas in Abrahamic religion, just one man dying and everything is constructed from there.
I see.
Okay, I see what you're pointing at.
My point is that in the core structure, Hinduism is a lot more group identity belief. So people who are not within the group, like the Charvakas, were literally wiped out. Once they've wiped out, whatever they believed, we do not know.
I see.
So we do not know what about people who are homosexuals during that period of time. Why? Because they might have been wiped out. We know a little bit about Charvakas because whatever survived, we figured out.
No, that is also the case with the Abrahamic states. Like you won't find stories of homosexuality from back in those dark days.
No. The thing is that in like for example, in Bible it was clearly mentioned. Homosexuality was clearly mentioned. Homosexual acts were clearly mentioned, which meant that people acknowledged it. My contention is that in Hindu religion that was never an acknowledgement in the first place.
That is true.
Yeah, that is also what I was talking about. And which
like,
is kind of also funny when people say that this is not part of Hindu culture, although there's nothing pointing that this is or is not.
Yeah, like there was never an acknowledgement, which to me makes me realize that there must have been homosexuals in Hindu religion, but either they suppressed it because of group identity, or if they expressed it, they were literally kicked out or killed.
In Mahabharata as well, I'm not sure if you watched the show, but there is a dude named Shikhandi, I think, that to kill Bhisham Pitama, because they were unable to kill him because he was too powerful and stuff. So I think he was some other person who killed Bhisham Pitama was shielded by Shikhandi, who was like have feminine tendencies. And it was most like a transgender.
Yeah. It was a transgender reference.
Yeah. So,
I don't remember the story that well, but it's something like I don't remember the real. Like, I mean, the person had a name. Then that form is called Sikandi form. I think they had a different name before that, and they where they did this mostly to take revenge on the Visma for some reason. I forgot the reason. I knew it.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a while since I've watched it as well. So, the thing that I was...
They kind of prayed to some god of their preference and formed this Sikandi form, which is half man, half woman to this. Yeah. There's a lot of backstory to it, which I don't remember at all, but yeah.
The thing that I was pointing at is like there are some reference. Now, I can't remember that was the trans reference or the homosexuality reference.
I think it was a trans reference. Yeah, that's the thing. See, what happens is the Hindu text, the scriptures are much older than the other popular religions. So it wasn't that mainstream back then. It's not exactly mainstream now either. Relatively, it is maybe. But if you compare 1,000 years back and then you compare 2,000 years back, then you see the difference and based on when it was written. Let me give you a different example to this. When it comes to the theory of this karma and rebirth and stuff like that, it originated in India and Indian subcontinent, even if not completely India. And it doesn't mention unicellular, it doesn't mention insects and stuff like that. It directly starts in much higher form of life. But if you consider the concept of karma and reincarnation in Western form, which they took from India, that is much more detailed and starts at a much lower life form. It's because by the time they got introduced to this concept, much more discoveries have already been made. So they incorporated the new findings with this concept and formed this amalgamation. Maybe I'm using the wrong term. Amalgamation. I think it's
amalgamation.
Yeah, amalgamation. And so that's kind of how. It's not because they were smarter. It's because they got introduced to this at a time when much more discoveries were made. It's kind of similar to this, I think, because how old is Rig Veda? The Vedas are, I think, 3,000 or 4,000 years old. Not 4,000. I think it is something around 3,000 years old.
The problem with
something around that.
Yeah,
but the thing is, it started back then. But the Abrahamic texts are like 2,000 years old at most. Even later, when you compare Islam and the multiple variations of Christianity. So things are much more known then than when Hindu stuff was written down. So I think that kind of contributed in these differences and things not being so hardly quoted. But quoting, like people are not even quoting scriptures in this court battle that is going. It is against Hindu culture. Based on what?
Like for example, the thing that the lawyer said within that thing.
Yeah.
There was a point that the lawyer made which sort of struck a bell in me. The point that the lawyer made was that the woman's job is procreation. He said something to the effect of that.
Yeah. I think I have heard that as well. And that is not wrong. I mean, whether it is right or wrong comes down to context. But
no, the point of that is basically that the entire concept of Hindu marriage. Basically, the point that he made was the concept of Hindu marriage is basically to have a family such that you procreate a child. So now the entire problem, what they have literally said is that Hindu culture is completely based on the fact that the concept of marriage within the Hindu culture was invented so that the woman could carry a child. That is the role why we even allow marriages in India, or why marriages should be allowed in India. So now the problem is not whether it's in the scripture or not. It's basically that the interpretation of whatever is within the culture has been interpreted in such a manner.
Yes. And if you put it like the job of the woman is to procreate a child, that's a bit
even if it's not explicitly said that is the job of the woman, by making it the job of a marriage, you literally made that the job of the woman, because the marriage, you are saying it's a heterosexual marriage is allowed. only the sort of marriage that will allow. And then you only allow that marriage where the heterosexual, and then you say that the reason why you're allowing only heterosexual marriage is so that the woman can procreate. That means you've literally made the woman's job to procreate.
Yes, that's what I was getting at, is when you say the job of the woman is to procreate, that's wrong. We know women can procreate, and that's it. If they are married, then, if they want to have a child, they can have a child, both parents. If they don't, then it's up to them as well. But when you tell like the job is this, it's kind of just demeaning them. So
that is kind of all religion does. I mean, if you look at anyone, they're just trying to control people, and they're trying to control women more than.
Yeah, the point that I'm trying to make is not that. My point is not that they're trying to control. They're not. That is not the goal of the argument. The goal of my argument is, simply put, that it's not about it's about that it's not anything better than anything outside. We can say that it's better in the sense that people are more accepting of it, or people are not as viscerally against it. But the fact of the matter is, today you or I, even with our liberal parents, cannot come out as gay if we were gay.
That is true. Like if I'm to be a gay, that it'll be like I can tell my parents easily that I'm an atheist.
I can tell my father I'm an atheist, but the second I tell my father I'm gay, he will literally be like, do not tell it to anyone else. So that still exists, right? You're not out of the closet. You cannot, like, that still exists. So you're not safe from it. The entire argument that we are far more lenient, this and that, it's bullshit.
No, we are more aggressive these days. Or maybe
the problem with it is India. The problem, when I say India is a hive-minded country, is my entire point of argument is that when you're individualistic, what happens is you just need to get away from certain individuals and you can find community. With India, the entire community is sort of united in that sense. For example, the Marwadi community, we are doing business. So I know what other Marwadis within the field is doing. Their children's behavior, somehow I get to know that. I don't want to know that, but people talk and it comes. It reaches your ear. What happens is that the game of Chinese whisper happens and the things get exaggerated to the point where it's nonsensical.
Yeah, that is true. That is, it's not just India. That is a huge difference between Western culture and
it is far more prevalent in India. No, it's far more prevalent in India. Why? Because what happens with that is that in India, people ask for other people's opinion a lot.
They rely
where within your culture, your culture's opinion matters. So when your culture's opinion matters and your entire family, your nuclear family may be unorthodox, your nuclear family may be as progressive as you want. But if your entire joint family is conservative and highly conservative, the fuck are you going to do?
Yeah, I do find it hard talking to some of my aunts. That's why I don't talk to them.
It's not about talking to aunts. It's like, I am doing business. For me, forming business relations is far more important. And your family members, your joint family members are technically your customers in some form or the other.
I see what you're saying.
So in that sense, and
that's true.
So that is a huge business impact. Like, I'm literally showing a business impact of just me being liberal has a business impact.
Because they might not like your opinions and they might not.
Yeah, so the societal boycott. In India, the societal boycott is far more dangerous than the Western individualistic boycott.
I suppose you can go and still do a business in the West, even though your family isn't, if you piss off some of your family members.
Yes. And in India, what happens is people can come to your house. People know where you live. Why? Because it's community.
There is a lot of that.
Yeah. So, and like, people will cut business ties with it just if they know you're gay or you're, these sort of things.
Yeah.
In highly orthodox Hindu families that I have seen, highly orthodox business, one of my friend's father started a restaurant cum bar, and my father literally stopped going to his house.
Oh, because he started a bar and he's selling alcohol.
Yes.
Wow.
Imagine the impact just that has had.
Yeah.
Think about it. something as like that has this profound impact. Imagine what coming out gay would you have.
Very
My
bad.
father is pure business minded. He's a guy who thinks in business terms. He's not willing to go to someone's house.
Yeah, friends and families also makes you stay in the religion, because like coming out as gay,
So
or
my
if
entire
you
point is that it's not people are afraid to come out in India.
Mm,
Coming out in India is a challenge. In West, at least you can come out. Fuck what happens. You can come out. India, you can't. You just can't.
for now,
It's absolutely difficult.
for
I mean,
now.
yes, for now, because things are going to progress. The country will progress. We are going to be parents. Like, we are going to reach adulthood. And the more of us that are progressive people, the
I
more
think we're
country is going
adults
to
though.
progress.
I am an adult. I have to counter that. I think I'm an adult.
Same here.
Yeah, but no,
Yeah,
we
sure.
can.
I mean, the point I'm trying to make is like we are going to touch in our 40s. At that point of time, we are going to be progressive enough to understand stuff like this. So at that point of time, whatever the social issues of the 10s and 20s are, we may not understand those. We may go against those. But at least the issues we recognize today, we are going to support those. So yes, we are going to go more liberal. That is a fact of time.
No,
We are
that
going to get pushbacks even in our 40s. Sure. We are going to be more liberal. Sure. We see that liberalism even within the conservative families of ours, because like even they have realized that the entire orthodox way of living does not work completely because of how fast life has become. So even they are taking concessions within it.
no, it's very good points that you made, Anish, and it is hard coming out in India. What's your take on it, Sanjit? Would like to hear your perspective as well.
Yeah, it is. I'll just have to expand that it is not just India. It's more like East versus West when it comes to this. Like even outside of India, not just counting our neighbors, like even outside the neighbors of India, if you look at Japan, Korea, and countries like that, even their community, the close-knit community connected to family, joint families, and stuff like that is a huge thing. So the individualism is more often Western concept. The society there is relatively speaking more individualistic. It's not that there are no families there and stuff like that. There are still close-knit orthodox communities and stuff like that, which are bothersome. But the percentage is lower than here. And that can be good in some aspects and bad in some aspects. And this is the part where the aspect is bad. So that makes it harder, and it will be even harder for business families because of what happens in business families are the other family members also run businesses.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
it's not just losing one person, it's losing the entire side of one person. While relatively speaking, it is easier in service families. Like for me, almost my entire joint family, not joint family, we are not joint family. My almost entire expanded family are service people. So my collateral damage will be relatively lower. But then again, I don't think all of my family members know that I'm an atheist. Not because I don't want to tell them, but just because the topic never came up. They just assume I'm a normal guy. Their version of normal guy. So they probably just don't know. And which is fine. I don't care.
The worst thing about being in a business family, the worst thing about this business family concept within India that has happened is that any decision I take reflects on my parents. This is far more prevalent within our culture, in our Eastern culture than in Western culture.
Yeah. That's
for example, which is another big reason why people don't come out.
Yeah.
Like you coming out has serious impacts for your parents.
Yes.
Like people could literally go to your parents and say, "You didn't raise him right." Imagine that. Like you feel like a criminal.
They don't just can, they actually do that.
Yes.
You feel like a fucking criminal that you expressing yourself has have people tell them something like that. You feel like a fucking criminal at that point.
That does happen. Like even getting.
And not only that, let me tell you this: what happens? These stories that I'm telling you are something I've heard sitting with people.
Yeah.
Like I sit with people and these stories come up. Like they discuss this like it's some sort of a victory.
If somebody comes out as a homosexual, then it's a victory because they.
No, the discussions that take place that kid came out homosexual and that kid was like, you know what, I don't want to marry a girl. And like we went and we talked to the parents and the parents convinced the child. At the end of the day, he saw the light. Like, that's a victory talk.
Oh, I
Saw
see.
the light, lol.
Like I'm paraphrasing for the exaggeration, but the
Yeah,
point
I
is
know.
that
Let me actually remind you something here. I think I should have some stats as well. Okay, it definitely hasn't been reported in that case. That is the case of honor killing in India. That is a huge issue, and it is completely for this, saving the family's image. Like people would rather kill their kids than risk ruining their image. And I just checked, it says 25 honor killings in 2020. That is definitely wrong. I think it is 25 reported honor killings. 25 is way too low for something like this. Yeah.
Yeah, nobody's going to report that, or the person who would have reported that is kind of under the ground. So can't really report on that. There was some Nirbhaya case in Delhi, I think it was called Nirbhaya case, where, group of people gang raped a girl in a bus.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it was very brutal, if I
Yeah.
remember.
Yes. And
Yeah.
that reached like world news as well, because I have some colleagues who are in foreign, and then they were asking me about it. But anyways, the point I was getting at, they made a documentary on that, and then the lawyer in the documentary is such a sick person. His little child was roaming around, and then he kind of implied that if she finds a boyfriend, then the honor killing might be in progress. That was heavily implied. And I'm like,
Oh, I didn't watch the documentary.
yeah, there was a doc. It's probably on YouTube for free. And I was like, how come you have a 9 or 10-year-old daughter roaming around and you can think or say such a thing? It's just absolutely ludicrous. It just pains me. And this is probably the friends and families is probably the biggest reason as well, that it impacts you so much that it's hard for you to leave a religion. Like me telling my dad that I'm an atheist or I don't believe in a God, my dad's just like, don't tell it to anyone. It's just, it brings so much baggage. Like you won't be able to fit in and stuff. Like you have to go to the temples and do puja, even though I'm respectful most of the time. Like, okay, if you want to do prayers, go for it, whatever. And I'm just going to go there and sit if you want me to. But don't ask me to, do it every now and then. Just, we'll keep it civil. And luckily for me, I don't stay with my parents. So I don't have to participate. Yeah, I don't have to participate as often, right? Which is a great thing for me. But I think this also, what Anish was mentioning about gay people coming out and the business relations falling apart and everything like that, and even opening a liquor store or a liquor restaurant just puts a dampener on the relationship. Coming out as an atheist also puts a dampener, and it's got practical ramifications. That's why you got to
obviously it has.
Yeah,
it has major ramifications.
And it keeps you in the religion. Like you can't even talk to your cousins. It's like, what's your belief system is like? Do you believe in a God? Even asking that question sometimes is hard.
It's not a question to ask. Basically, the problem is that you cannot even ask that question.
Yes.
Because it's a ludicrous question for these people. For your family members, it's a ludicrous question.
It is a ludicrous question, but until you ask, you won't get an answer. And the problem is when you're trying to have these conversations with your family member, like I've got young cousins, right? And they are starting their studies in college and stuff. Gosh, I'm getting old. And the problem is, if they are asking me for some suggestion and they are going to like some Baba or anyone like that, I can't stop them. Even though I'm saying they're literally wasting their money. I can't really stop them, because if you get into the conversation, then all the other things come out, and then their parents talk to my parents, even though I'm freaking 34. They can go to my parents and like, your child is doing this, as if my dad controls me, like I'm 5 or 6 year old.
That's the biggest issue, right? You cannot express yourself freely because people know your parents, because people know your relatives. Like, that is the worst thing.
And the problem sorry, Manish, just want to finish my thought. So the problem that occurs is, if they tell my dad's not going to do anything, and that's not a problem for me as well. But the problem is, he'll feel embarrassed. And because he's feeling the pain due to me, I just restrict myself. It's like, because obviously you don't want your parents to feel bad for you or anything, even though they're not going to say, but there's going to be these nuggets of emotional attachar coming in and out every now and then in the conversations, but you did this, right? Out of the blue. So that also happens.
Like, just my parents knowing every day, like, my mom has 10 to 15 different lines on how somebody else is doing well because they do puja every day. And it's like some sort of that.
Yeah.
Some sort of that, like, look at him doing so well because he prays, he does so many different, prayer activities, so on and so forth. Like,
that does happen to me as well, but not that explicitly.
Taunting,
taunts do happen, but I can taunt back with some other example which proves me right.
No, I generally avoid taunting back, because what happens is I tend to get into a fight pretty quick after that.
Oh, okay.
Like,
I usually don't, luckily.
Yeah, I just get into some sort of form of argument because I've debated whole life. So for me, getting into the debate mind is pretty easy. And when I get into a debate mind, I tend to attack the person rather than the idea itself sometimes.
Okay. Yeah, it is.
Because it's much easier to rattle the person than to rattle the idea.
Yeah, because
that is true. And you will see that happen quite a lot in quote unquote news shows, where the idea just gets thrown off the window within few seconds and people attack each other.
Yeah, because it's much easier to rattle people than to rattle ideas.
I don't think it's the debates that shown on news. They call it a debate, but I think it's most like fights or arguments.
Yeah, of course. It's not even arguments. It's just quarrel.
This like, your face looks bad.
Yeah.
So, no, that
would be a compliment.
Depending on the situation, yes.
I kind of like taunting back my parents. It always usually ends up with them losing and then going in something like, you won't understand, you're just a kid, and you're misbehaving with your parents and stuff like that, and them avoiding that conversation and switching it. But it usually, it very rarely goes into a fight, and so mostly I play within a safe ground.
I tend to get into fights pretty quick.
Make sure that it doesn't go into fight either. Like, I'm carefully taunting that it doesn't go that bad.
I think the word that you're trying to use, Zandria, is more like sarcasm, but in a critical way. Like, you're asking them to think as well, I suppose.
Yeah, that would be a better technical term.
Because when you say
it's mostly done as a taunt.
Yeah, the taunting has a negative connotation to it. Sorry, Anish, you were saying.
Yeah, but for me, I tend to get into the negative end of it. And for me, what happens is that I either go all out or I don't. And so what I do is I just let them know by just saying out whatever and whatever. Like, as soon as he starts some sort of, like, my mother would start some sort of taunt and I'll whatever. Like, she would understand what I mean by it, and the conversation would just die off there.
I see.
I'm much more into killing the conversation with my parents than to have a religious conversation. I'm pissed off. Like, it pisses me off.
Yeah, it's another thing is like, there are certain people in my family who can piss me off in like a minute. And there are some people that I can have long conversations, really demanding conversations, but I don't get pissed off. It's a lot of other things as well. There's little things that you notice that they do here and there that's already pissing you off. And when they have a conversation, you're literally on the edge. So it's not what they say. I think it's not what they are saying or the thing, but it's the person who's saying it that kind of triggers as well. That might
Yeah,
be
happens a lot. Like for example, my mother generally pisses me off with this, and the reason why is because she knows the right buttons to push.
She knows you well.
Yeah, parents are
Yeah,
good at that, especially mothers.
because what happens is that with when you're talking to your friends or so on and so forth, you can hold a logical conversation because they're trying to beat you with logic, and at that point you are in your bag.
Not always true though.
Like they think that they're trying to beat you with logic. They
Yeah,
are trying
but
to hold a conversation. They're trying to listen to your points. They're trying to make a point and then try to hear your counter arguments, regardless of what they think after that. You can at least form a conversation with my mother. Her point is a statement that is a fact, and you cannot go against it. Like if you go against it, you're not worth a child. It's like literally like that aspect is baked into the conversation.
mm,
Yes, that is a very problematic system of Indian culture. India and many other Eastern countries have this conformist culture where you cannot question authority figures, even if
yeah,
you're
if
correct.
you're older, if you're like you were born before me, somehow that makes you more intelligent than me.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's the
exactly.
concept of like they try to bring out the concept of wisdom that they know more than you. Sure, they do, but just because they know more than me does not mean they should be respected. Hitler knows more than me. I don't respect the dude.
Hitler you did use religion as a tool, and it's a very good tool for people. I mean, even a dumbass wearing orange color clothing in India can go and then he'll get money easily. So,
True.
yeah, that's
Sometimes I think I should have my mother wear those orange robes.
well, if you want to
I
start
wouldn't
your
have to
own
work.
business with a very little investment, here's a good business idea.
Yeah, my mother knows a lot of puja stuff, so I sometimes wonder
Yeah,
having
and
my mother
then
wear those orange robes and have a mandir constructed somewhere.
yeah,
It's not going to take much of an investment, just a couple of people spreading words, game of Chinese whispers,
yeah.
And that's even easier to do in a business family.
social media.
Yeah.
Yeah, social media is something you cannot control completely, but you can very easily use your business network. That would be
Yeah.
the best tool for initial push.
And then the other people will be saying, look, Anish prays all the time. And then this. Yeah. But coming back to that, we do have to respect time. And I really liked talking to you guys. It's just like you guys can talk on so many different topics at the same time. It's just amazing. Any any last thoughts before we disappear? Anish, we'll go with you
Ah,
first.
yeah, thanks.
I mean, see, the thing with religion is that we are not against religion in and of itself for its core belief that it gives people reason to live, or that my entire contention with it is that number one, it does not acknowledge people as people a lot of times.
Mhm.
It does not acknowledge certain people, and the worst thing is it becomes an identity that you're forced to accustom to. You're not allowed to get out of the identity.
Yes, that's a very, very
It
good point.
like you're not allowed to express yourself outside that identity. So that social consequence, that consequence of your family being berated, those consequences are far more devastating that would make people shut up than anything else.
Yes, that's a very good point. I really like it. Zendriat, do you have anything to say before we disappear?
Yeah, a part of it is correct, but I have to go a little extra step because I'm against religion as a concept itself. Because, see, religion doesn't give people a purpose to live. It tends to give people a purpose to live. There's a difference. Like, it doesn't tell you this might help you. It tells you you must do this. And that's a huge difference. It doesn't give you open-ended solutions. It doesn't offer you answer. It just pretends to be the answer.
Yeah.
That's a huge difference. Let me bring the comparison between religion and science, because both are giving you answers depending on who you are. Like for me, religion is not giving many answers, but for a lot of people, apparently it is. But the difference is science doesn't pretend to be the truth. Science is finding the truth, which is why science gets updated with every progress scientists make. But religion is written in stone, and all the stone is fragile. It kind of lasts long enough, and you cannot question it. You cannot verify. You cannot cross-check it. It can be wrong, but it's not that it can be wrong. It is wrong, which has been proven multiple times. But you have no scope of verifying it. You going against it is you going against a concept of damnation, which is very dumb, but it fixes you into a dumb identity that you associate with, making very hard to get out of it, although not giving you much good reasons to stay, but makes you believe that it has good reasons to stay. The consequences are real, but the consequences are not something that you can take care of.
Yes.
I
so
think
religion...
I can frame it well. I mean, the consequences of living a religion are correct, but they are not correct because religion is correct. The consequences exist because religion forms an identity that the community around you adheres to.
Yeah. I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. The thing that I'm going to take away from this is identity is the single most is the reason why people don't want to leave the religion, and it also gives false hope that something good going to happen after you die. So
it is like if I were to summarize that way, it would be two things. One, definitely identity, and the other is fear.
Yes.
The fear of the unknown.
So we got a lot of things to think about. And on that note, let us think, and you can call us atheist.